after COVID, what happened to the parents? They were all ordering groceries online. They were online on their phone for everything, researching everything, including us. It's a very hard thing to convey to the parent that they must act now and they must not wait. I get stuck in so many things, even right now, where I say, should I do this or should I do that or what, and going to that course, it pays for itself. And literally that same, the Monday I come back, it pays for itself.
Hello, and welcome to the Dare to Be Different podcast. My name is Nick Despotidis, and today I'm so honored to have as my guest, Dr. Shefali Miglani. I met Shefali approximately 10 years ago when I gave a local continuing education credit course. She was one of the few attendees, and there was probably 100 people at the time, a little less, that came up to me and was so interested in what I spoke about. She was the only attendee of that 100 that came to Vision by Design a year or two afterwards and really has devoted her practice to myopia management. So Shefali, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you. The pleasure is all mine, Dr. D.
Thank you. So let's start there. Rather than start from when you got out of school, I think this CE course was in New Jersey, and you and I practice within miles of one another, correct?
Yes, we do. Probably less than 25 miles.
That's right. And here it was, we're both in New Jersey. I'm lecturing. Again, there's about 80 people there or more. And at the time, were you doing any myopia management?
No, not at all. I was just going to get some credits. I'd opened my practice and it was probably about 2 years old, my private practice. And there you were talking about myopia management. And I'm like, what is that? What is he talking about?
Okay. But something interested you at the time, correct?
Yes.
And you were kind of interested, you're attending. And at the time, it was kind of like a supercharged light, so to speak. It was a 3-hour, it was pretty long, a 3-hour CE course. I didn't give any breaks, I remember. And maybe that's why no one came up to me afterwards. It was later at night. And here you were, came up to me. And if I'm not mistaken, were you pregnant at the time also?
I might have been, yes.
Yeah. So how many children did you have at the time?
I had two. And
2 children, and you're pregnant with your third.
Correct. Yes.
And you had opened your practice just 2 years prior.
Right. When my second one was in maybe 3 years before. My second one was in a stroller, and I opened my practice. I'm kind of crazy that way, though.
Yeah, I'd say. So tell us a little bit, start 2 years before, 2-3 years when you opened your practice. What kind of practice was it? What motivated you to get into private practice? Why don't you give the listener some background?
Yeah, so I was working, for other people, and it wasn't satisfying. And I am at, hearts of hearts, I'm an entrepreneur. I wanted to take control of my own destiny. And I said, at 19, I remember I was in college and I wrote down on a piece of paper what I wanted in life. And I remember those points where I said, okay, I want to be in medical field. I want to be 5 minutes away from home.
Wow.
I want to be my own boss, and I want to have a business component to all of it. And I knew that my primary responsibility would lie with my family, and I wanted to do justice to all of it. So I wrote it down, and I'm a believer of writing my visions down, and kind of then the universe kind of fulfills that. Right. Over time. And so I wrote it down and I said, okay, I'm going to actually start my private practice because that fits the bill with all the criteria. I got up, I saw a sign in my local hometown that the space was available, and I signed the lease for a private practice, 1,000 square foot.
Did you have any patients at the time, or was it relatively cold?
Oh, it was completely cold. We opened and we asked our family and friends to be my first patients.
Okay. So tell me so that was about 2 or 3 years before you and I met.
Yeah.
How was it going? were you starting to get busier? Were things working out, or were you struggling? Give the listener.
No, I opened in 2008, where the massive recession, or that, the whole markets collapsed, and I opened then, and it was very, very hard to get the patients in. It was typical private practice cold, waiting for the phone to ring, and it hurts because the schedule is empty, and I'm taking all the insurances under the planet, and just struggling every day, and have three little kids to manage, or two little kids at that point, at
Right.
that time. And but it was still, in some ways fulfilling, because I knew that I was going to make it work. And that, I was in charge of my destiny.
Yes, you had your fate in your hand, so to speak.
Yes.
So at the time when you came to the workshop, were you doing, not even the workshop, when you came to that CE course, you weren't doing myopia management. It seemed like you didn't know much about it.
I didn't know anything about it. I probably heard the term ortho-K a couple of times in my contact lens rotations, but I have no idea what the lens looked like, nothing, until I sat in that workshop, and I was it was deer in headlights when I was listening to your course. It was wonderful.
Okay. So thank you. So it sounds like, if I get the timeline right, you open up in 2008.
Hmm.
2013, about 5 years later, we meet. You come to
Yeah.
the CE course. At the time, by that 5 year mark, were you busy enough to afford a lifestyle that you wanted? Were you close to your house? Were you doing relatively well at that 5 year mark?
I think I was still in the early stages, and it was, relatively well, in the sense I had the lifestyle to raise my kids,
Well,
because I
that's
was
good.
5 minutes away. My kids were in town in school, but it wasn't the financial success yet.
Right. Okay. So I remember the day of the workshop. The reason I did it, it was CE. I was screaming. I was jumping up and down like I normally do. And when it was over, people just left. It wasn't like, it was the most, humbling experience. So people just left. That's just it. And you came up to me. And the reason I remember, you were pregnant, or at least had two kids, but I'm almost sure you told me. I was looking at you, not even listening, but I'm saying, how does this person do it? She has a practice. She has a full-time job being a mom and a wife. And here she is, carrying her third child, and she's thinking of bringing on this subspecialty. And we talked, and you said, "This is great, Dr. D. Thank you so much. How do I learn more?" And I said, "Come to Vision by Design." Do you remember
Yes,
that?
yes, absolutely. And I had no idea what that meeting was, at all. And I didn't know that this whole sort of subspecialty existed, where doctors practiced that. I thought you were like one in a million kind of a docs that kind of did this, and it was an enigma to me at that point.
And you were the only one who actually followed my advice, and you came to Vision by Design either a year or two afterwards. Do you remember your first Vision by Design?
Oh yeah, yes, it was 2015, because I remember I had had the baby, and I was carrying my pump with me to the meeting.
This is, this is so important, because that is truly amazing to me, because you're juggling so many vital jobs, yet you make the time to come to Vision by Design. In that year, I know you've taken Supercharge. Was that the first time you took Supercharge, or you didn't take it that year?
No, I took it that year,
Okay.
because you were I'm pretty sure I took it that year, because that's all I remember about the whole meeting was is your course when I go. So I took it that year. And
So
what had happened was that, incidentally, one of my my friends who is in Florida, who's an optometrist, and who's the reason I'm an optometrist now, his family member in New Jersey wanted ortho-K for their child. And
Ah,
because I was talking about this specialty with him in Florida, he said, "Oh, you got to go to my friend Shefali in New Jersey, who is going to practice, or is practicing ortho-K." And that guy, he's a doctor, he's an MD, and his wife is an MD, and they were looking for ortho K for their child. And I was very honest with them. I remember they called me in the beginning of the summer of 2015 and said, "Hey, Shefali, I hear from Chris and down in Florida that you do ortho K. I really want this for my child."
Wow.
So I said, "You know what? I don't do it yet, but I'm scheduled for the course coming up in fall, or no, I don't know when it was, or maybe
Right.
I just no, I just came back for it. It was in the spring of 2015.
Okay.
And I said, I'm going to the course, and I'm gonna learn everything about it, and you're gonna be my patient number one.
Wow.
So that was my motivation. You were my inspiration. And I had an end to what I was working towards that summer. And my baby was only maybe like a few months old. And I had to go to this meeting because that was, it was now or never. I
That's
wanted to
amazing.
go, and I said, okay, how am I going to go? I took my pump, I took everything. It was so hard to leave my, like 4 or 5 month old baby at home. And I went, and it was the best experience of my life with
Wow.
the meeting. And I came back, and I remember I fit that my patient number one in September, on September 9th of 2015.
That's amazing. It really is amazing. Did you go to the boot camp? Do you remember?
I went, yeah, I attended everything. Yeah,
Everything. So you
yeah,
were all in. It was
yeah.
just go big or go home. That certainly describes you. You did everything, and then you fit that patient. You bought a topographer at the time. Did you
Oh
buy
yeah, I bought it on, I bought a Medmont right on the spot. Yeah.
right at the meeting?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it's very interesting because I've interviewed other doctors, similar experience. They had a patient that may have been interested, or someone, they attended the meeting, they ended up, they learned some basics and just dove right in. That sounds you. Now,
Yeah.
if I remember correctly, after the meeting, you were pumped up and you would email me, and we would have dialogue. And you said, "Thank you so much, Dr. D. I can't believe you're helping me. We're just miles apart." I remember you were very gracious,
Yeah.
but I also remember you were very conflicted. And tell me if I'm remembering things correctly, because on one hand, you had a consultant that was basically giving you information that was contrary to what I spoke about. I told you, "Listen, Shefali, I'm not a consultant.
Yeah,
This
yeah,
is
yeah.
what I'm doing." Is
Yeah.
that accurate? Can you give us a little background on that?
Yeah, so it might have been the VBD like the year after that I went to, and I had
You came back again. You
oh
came
yeah,
back to, and did you take Supercharge again? Because I know you've taken it more than once.
yeah, I've taken it every time you've offered, and every time I've been to the meeting.
Wow. Okay. So that's why I remember this so clearly, because you kept on asking me, "Nick, what should I do?" Do you remember
Yeah.
that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I was taking all the insurances, IMED, VSP, um, Spectera, you
And they
name it.
wanted you to take more. I remember you said,
Yeah, well,
"Nick, this consultant is actually telling me to take more."
yeah, I was very conflicted because, the consultant was saying, well, you don't work the hours, because my hours are 9 to 5, and I never compromised on my hours because I needed to be home with my kids. And he said, well, you can't really build a successful practice with those hours, and your hours are not very conducive to the people who work in New York and all of that stuff. So I said, no, I really can't do that. I have to find another way to make my practice successful. And it was hard for me to listen to your advice, but it and I respect him greatly as well for other things, but I had to do what was right for me and what resonated with my soul. And I didn't think that extending my hours or taking more vision plans was going to make my vision come true.
Now, this was tough for you because both of us are blending years, but I
Yeah.
remember we'd have discussions more than once. "Nick, what should I do?" And I remember telling you, "Listen, I am not a consultant. This is
Yes.
what I do. You're paying a consultant.
Yeah.
You must follow the consultant's information."
Yeah.
But it was in direct conflict with not only what I was talking about, it clearly your values in life,
Yes. Yes.
including working Saturdays, I think.
Oh
And
yeah, I was working Saturdays at that point too, but I was working 9 to 5, but then to kind of compensate for the lack of the evening hours, I would do
right.
Saturdays. And I mean, like everybody, out there with a lot of optometrists would relate to this, that it's hard. It really gets to you to
Yes,
be
it
just
does.
being bombarded with responsibility every day, including Saturday. Even if you have the Wednesday off, you just never get rest because you never have those 2 days together to just decompress and do other things. One day, in my opinion, is just not enough to get rest. You need minimum of 2 days together to feel rejuvenated.
You know, you're so right. And I wish other people appreciate that. And I think that's why people get burnt out. When you said it's hard, that's an understatement. The
Yeah.
clinicians who are listening to this, people from the outside, and including my wife and maybe my kids, are saying, I just say better one or two. You know,
Yeah.
that's all they think I say. How difficult can it be? But
Right.
they just can't appreciate the stress we're under, making
Yeah.
sure we're giving the best care, making
Yes.
sure we're not missing a swollen nerve or a detached retina or a ripped retina, making
Yes.
sure we're giving the highest quality care, and all the administrative things that go behind the scenes just to make it look easy to the patient.
Yes, and the number one challenge is to keep your staff
Yes.
motivated. And how do we do that? I mean, we have to have good quality of life inside our practices and outside, like you always say. I always remember that do everything possible to make the quality of life not just better outside the practice, but inside the practice. And that's how you retain employees. And I'm
Yes.
proud to say that my employee tenure is 5 years and beyond,
Yeah.
since
Which
I
is
started the
huge because,
practice.
and I give you credit, I used to do the Facebook group for Supercharge attendees. And I remember showing people I celebrate Cinco de Mayo and we have salsa and this and that.
Yeah.
And it was like crickets. You
Yeah.
know, they like think this Dr. D is nuts. And I remember you somehow sending me a picture. And I think you may
Yeah.
have had one or two staff members at the time. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
With a
Yeah.
pizza, some guacamole and
And
chips.
we did. Yeah.
I
We
remember
did.
that. But
Yes.
yet I said, this person, she's committed. She's all in. It may
Yeah.
feel stupid. You're there with one, two people having some guacamole on Cinco de Mayo, but you could see it blossom to much more than that.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
notice you do have a longer tenure with your staff.
Yeah.
So
Yes, I do.
I want you now to fast forward to a point. I know there was an inflection point in your life where an opportunity came for you to expand your practice. I don't
Yeah.
remember what year it was you came to me and says, Nick, there's an opportunity next door. I think the
Yeah.
same center you're in, right?
Yes. Yes.
And I'm going to double my space. So can
Yeah.
you elaborate on that?
Yeah, so there was space available, and I was I wanted to get. I only had one exam room, and I felt like I needed more at that point to take care of the patients. And it was very, very hard for me to take that leap because there was a lot of loan, and it was, again, going big, and I wanted to make it beautiful, but I didn't want the optical to be the center of everything. So I still have the optical, probably won't have the optical for very long, but I kind of made the optical kind of, not so prominent, but as soon as you enter, I made this beautiful room, a conference room that says Myopia Care Center, Hoot Myopia Care. And that was the focus of my, sort of the office that I wanted. So, now I have more than one room, more instruments.
No, you
you
have a
know.
beautiful office. I have had the privilege of visiting. What year was that? Because I think either you don't remember, but I want for listeners
Yes.
to appreciate this was not easy for you. It was very big. It
Yeah.
was a very big investment, signing at least a 5-year lease, a long lease,
Yeah.
doubling
10
your
year.
expense, 10-year
Yeah.
lease,
Yeah.
doubling your space.
Yeah.
And you're right, you went big. It's a beautiful office. And then you built this room devoted to myopia management. What year was that?
2018 is July 2018, exactly
So in 3
4 years
years,
ago.
going from nothing, 2015, I think was your first Vision by Design, maybe?
Yes. Yeah. First.
3 years later, you
Yeah.
double your office space
Yes.
and you devote, I'd say, a pretty big square footage to it. I don't know how big that section is, but it is a big part of your office
Yeah. It's a big
to,
part. Yeah.
to
Yeah.
consultation, and you
Yeah.
made a commitment.
I made a commitment. I wanted a room that was just, we have a a wall of fame with all the kids that have gone through the program, or are still in the program. And we put their pictures on for, your myopia management. It's not the patients that you're treating. It really is the parent that you're caring
Yeah,
for.
that's true.
And, you want to give them the social proof and surround sound of confidence that you've done it before, or even if you haven't done it before, that you've committed to a big part of your practice. Like Jonathan Cho, Dr. Cho said, all his practice is just myopia. Mine isn't just myopia or management yet, but you want to kind of put it out there that you're committed in some way. But if you're doing everything, and if you're as soon as you walk in and it's the optical, you're giving mixed signals to the patients. And then patients are very smart. Parents are very smart. They know when you're seriously doing something or when you're doing
Right.
it kind of on the side.
And more than that, it's also commitment on your part. You're giving the commitment of yourself to that patient. So it's not only the physical surrounding, which is beautiful, it's the attention. And I know you've told me as your practice grew, it would stress your systems.
Yeah.
That parents are demanding. You are treating the parent, like you
Yeah.
said, you're treating the whole family.
Yes.
So it's just fitting the child, which most of us focus upon, is the easier, not easy, but the easier part, managing the family. So it's the whole package. It's you're professional, you're committed not only by the space you've allotted, but how much attention to the family you've committed. And you do that extraordinarily well.
Thank you. But I've learned that from you and from Supercharge. It was a meeting that told me that I needed to focus. And, I really believe that success leaves clues, and you just have to follow the path of success. And you have to, in most cases, a coach is very, very helpful. And you've been my coach for myopia management and to take care of these patients. There's a guideline, a roadmap that you taught me every time I went to Supercharge. And that experience, the learning, the training that you've given me has made a direct impact on my practice, not just financially, yes, financially, but also because it's given me the lifestyle and the privilege of feeling very, very satisfied when I come home at 5:15.
Well, thank you. But I'm going to tell you, I've given the course for a long, long time.
Yeah.
Very few have taken it as aggressively as you, but can you share some of your apprehensions? You must have felt this cognitive dissonance.
Yeah.
Yeah. On one hand, someone you respect is telling you you need to work more hours to be available to people who work in Manhattan and live by your community. And you need to accept more insurances. So I'm assuming you could sell them more products once they come in.
Right.
On the other hand, you come to my workshops and it's almost work less, work smarter, care about patients more, less is better.
Yeah.
And how did you deal with that? You must have been just torn up just inside, how do I do this? How do I navigate this? I just signed a 10-year lease. How do I have faith that this is going to transpire like Nick says?
Yeah. People change with two ways. One is the vision of the future or the pain of the present. And I had both. You showed me the vision of the future with the course. And I believe I had to put my trust in you because what you'd said until then was right with everything. And I had to put my trust in, and, you have to kind of listen to everything that your coach is saying and put that into, our demographics it's not very different. We work, maybe, 25 miles away. It's the same demographic. If you can be successful and have a 7-figure myopia management practice, and I can too, and it's, and it's plenty of people to feed both of our offices.
Right.
So it's just, doing it the right way. And your courses kept telling me every time I went to you the part of being part of that community and having access to you, and having access to really smart people at your seminar, because we're all like-minded, fed that to me and made that vision concrete. But I also was doing things that was failing me. I was
Like what?
doing
Why don't you
everything.
elaborate? Because everybody's doing that. It wasn't that you
Well,
were
I
doing
mean,
stuff. We're all doing
listen,
it.
I
What
mean,
are you?
I would order the lenses or I would want to order the lenses and they were never ordered. And the patient be like 3 weeks later, 4 weeks later, where are the lenses? I'm like, oh my God, I didn't have time, because it was all over the place, because
Right.
you cannot do it all with doing everything. You can't be a jack of all trades. So, I mean, at that point, I decided I needed to drop the insurances, and I did. I still have one major insurance that I'm working on dropping, but I dropped, a lot of them.
Yeah.
And I had to take your advice, because I remember that email when you said you really have to drop most of them, and I said okay, and I did, and I know it's like a cliche, but my revenues went up,
Yeah.
just a few months after.
And that's a very short time. I don't remember saying drop the insurance. I remember saying you can't be everything to everyone.
Yeah.
And clearly you took the advice. So from 2018, I didn't know this, to today, fast forward 4 years, and that's during the pandemic, you systematically started dropping all these plans. The consultant you were enrolling in plans. I guess I want the listener to understand you were coming to my course and simultaneously enrolling in plans at the same time. And I said, this is
Yes.
not going to work, Shefali.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
So
And
you,
I just had to be either this way or that way.
well, that's phenomenal. That's amazing. So I'm just so happy that you are down to one or two plans at this point.
One,
And
or just one,
just
just
one.
one.
And at one point, please tell everyone you accepted, I think, just about anything.
Everything. When I
Everything.
started, it was everything,
Yeah.
everything that you could imagine,
So from 2018, you opened up your office where you doubled in size. You expanded your office, you doubled your space, you committed
Yeah.
to myopia management physically and mentally. You
Yeah.
started, and now the pandemic hits.
Yes.
And I remember you and your husband, you interviewed me, and I remember the question you asked me. You said, Nick, is this it? We remember it was in March, April. I don't remember. And your husband and I were talking. We're still getting stressed every day.
Yeah.
We're pretending we're going to work even though we're not. And you said, Nick, is this it?
Yeah.
Remember that kind of self-doubt?
Oh my gosh, I remember it was like April of 2020, and we were talking over Zoom like this, because I requested, I said, I really need to talk to you because I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And I was very stressed because I didn't know. I mean, I had patients that I just started. I don't know how they were going to come back. I don't know when we were going to go. I mean, it was so much uncertainty around that time for all of us.
Yep.
Yeah.
At that point, did you ever consider, once you reopened, did you consider, listen, I need to increase the volume within my practice? I should start accepting one or two more plans to go backwards? Or was that not under your radar at that time?
Not at all. I was going to double down on myopia management. I was going to get, I was going to get the A scan, and I did all the research to figure out how to keep my patients and to get referrals. And I remember that I would, any content that you would put out, because we're part of that supercharged community, and in any content that you would put out, I would watch it, I would take notes. And you did this contest with your patients. You said, you know what you can do? You can call everybody. You can call all the patients in your roster on myopia management, all the families, and touch base with them and have a touch point with them and ask them how they were doing. I said, all of them? Wow, that's a lot of work. And then you said you can do a contest, or not, you were doing a contest. And I did everything that you were doing. It was just a part of executing. Was, I just needed to execute, and I'm good at executing when I have a good coach that I believe in. So I did the contest of, I remember I did a contest of all the kids being creative in their downtime, how they would spend their time not being on the screen. And I had, prizes for them when they came back from the shutdown, and they were so happy. And I called each and every family
Wow.
member in
Wow.
my the software. I called each and every one. They were so happy to hear from me.
Couldn't believe it, right? Couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
It's amazing you did that. I remember uh, Dr. Lee, my partner, Dr. Noah, we called everyone we could. And they said, Dr. D, I can't believe you're calling me.
Yeah.
And we didn't go black. And I think,
Yeah.
yes, we did Lego contests here
Yeah.
and awarded prizes for the best Lego. Tell us what you do outside during the pandemic
Yes.
that doesn't involve screens. And we gave
Yeah.
out awards. And it wasn't like they said, wow, I'm going to go to Dr. D because they had a contest. It was basically that we didn't go black. We kept in front of parents saying, we're here for you.
Yeah.
And most doctors, they turned the lights when they came back. And you remember they would send out, we're now open.
Yeah.
Come see us.
Yeah.
It was like, well, we haven't heard from you for 6 weeks or longer.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was great. That's a great story.
Yeah. It was great. And I actually had a lot of patients that wanted to start myopia management when I came back June 1st, 2020. And there was a lot of backlog, that demand for myopia management. I mean, we had I think us doctors didn't anticipate what that COVID shutdown would do to their kids' eyes, and the stress that they were under. And so because I had the mindset of, okay, now I'm not going to just get busy just seeing routine patients or, the regular rigmarole. I'm going to focus on myopia management. I was actually had probably the most signups that after COVID for myopia management than ever. And I think that's probably true for everybody that had the same mindset.
I would hope so, because the same thing with us. And there was also something that rung true that I've learned so much of. We didn't open up our reception area when we opened. We kept the doors locked. We still do to today. And that taught me that control is very important, controlling your schedule, focusing on things like myopia management really translated to a better quality of life in the office, better quality of life outside the office, and more revenue because I was just seeing people systematically. So yeah, us too, we grew an amazing amount in 2021, whereas 2020, when everything was hitting the fan, I couldn't even conceive growing 34% in 2021. It was quite incredible.
Right. 2021 was my best year yet, I mean, best year till then.
But if you didn't make the changes, if you didn't lay the groundwork, it would have been your worst, because you would have to open up. And the only way you could make it is volume.
Yes.
I could talk about this to nauseam. Our fees, if you accept insurance, have not gone up and some have gone down.
Yeah.
So you're stuck now. You can't see patients like you did pre-pandemic, at least in my opinion.
Yeah.
And now the only way to increase volume, and I read a lot of people publishing papers, well, you could make up what you lost in 2020. You've put 1 or 2 exams earlier in the morning and 1 or 2 exams later in the afternoon. And sure enough, within a year, you've made up the loss, and you just you burn yourself out.
Yeah. No, actually, I came back and I said, okay, no more evening hours. We used to do Tuesday, maybe till 8 o'clock. And I said, cut the evening and cut the Saturdays.
Wow.
So,
wow.
Yeah.
So tell me, what is your schedule like now? So you've really, since the last time you and I communicated, which is just during that pandemic, April 2020, you've really continued to evolve your practice. So what does it look like today?
It's 9 to 5, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. And I have an associate now because of that one vision insurance, and I won't see any primary care now because I do believe that either I needed to drop that insurance, the vision plan, or I needed to just at least I needed to cut myself off of it. So I want to just be a myopia management specialist. And it's very powerful. I believe that when I get a referral from my associate to me, and I'm, sort of this specialist that's not so accessible, that's referring back to myself, is very powerful because those patients wait to come to see me. And I have a very set schedule of consultation. You also taught me to reserve spaces for consultation, whether you have it or not.
That's
And
right.
I still do that. And those do get filled up, in a systematic manner, and they come to see me, and I'm the specialist. And I also in the COVID shutdown, I also did other things. I built another company with my husband that is around myopia management, and so we were building that lateral, and it's going well. Everything is going
Yeah,
well.
and also by getting associate, I'm going to talk about partnerships this year during the supercharge course, because I could never achieve the level of success without my partners, because isn't it liberating when you don't have to do everything? Like, you had an OCT, you were really working at a high level in a lot of different areas of optometry.
Yes.
Being able to focus on one area gives you a certain level of peace, doesn't it?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It is. It's very satisfying. I mean, it's new to me. She's only been here a couple of months, but it's just so nice because I can really, learn about a new lens if I want to, or do this with you, or
Right.
just there's a lot of freedom. And also, I love to go deep in something, and myopia management is my passion, and I really, really like that. And I think I've only scratched the surface, and I would like to go beyond and change the face of myopia and myopia management and make it better for other people as well.
So it sounds like you're very goal oriented. You write things down before you even went to college, it sounds like. What does your family look now, if you don't mind me asking? How old are your kids? Are you able to balance that? I don't know how you do it. I don't know how female ODs do it, because men, we have different, I think, different responsibilities. I'm involved with the kids, but really my wife, it's juggling many more balls than I am. How are you doing this?
Honestly, my husband, Bob, he is very hands-on. He
Okay.
worked for Pfizer for 22 years, and he did something very similar. He burned all the bridges, left it because he wanted to do something on his own. So he has the freedom to run the kids from one activity to another while I'm seeing patients. So I don't do it all by myself, but we have systems in place at home. My kids are 17, 14, and 7.
Wow.
And I have a, part-time person that comes, does my laundry. And so I have delegated
Yeah.
tasks for other people that I hire, because I want, I like to believe that I want to make money doing something that I'm good at. I don't want to spend time doing dishes or laundry when I can delegate that to somebody else. And I have a person that comes in for just 3 hours a week and cooks a couple of meals that gets us through for 2-3 days. And after that, we can kind of juggle. So I have very strict like systems in place at home, just like I have them placed at work. And I am very goal oriented, not super goal oriented, but I see some really like moms out there that are optometrists, and they juggle so much more than I do. But I'm a little like almost kind of like I lazy, and I like my free time, and I like to like just sit down and not think about anything. I'm not a very do kind of a person. So I like to have delegated tasks and make my life good.
Well, I wouldn't call you lazy, and I teach this, and I strongly believe it. We can do anything, but we can't do everything. It's
Yes.
really, and it's up to us to really decide what's most important to us. And it certainly seems like the way you practice is very important to you, the way
Yeah.
patients view you, and also spending time with your family, because nobody else can do that.
Yeah.
You
Right.
know, Uh,
We go on vacations. You know, I've been to probably 4 vacations so far this year
that's
because of and it's the practice that is feeding everything right now in our family, because my husband is trying to build something else, and he gave up his daytime job. So, and it's very comfortable to know that my practice can deliver that in the 4 days that I work.
right. So it's a
Because
big transition in just 4 years.
yes.
It didn't look like that 4 years ago. Am I
No, it did
correct?
not. It did not even look like that right before COVID, Dr. D. It did not look like that. It was
You were on
just,
a treadmill. And it was a
Yes.
really, really fast-paced treadmill.
Yes. Yes. Exactly.
So I give you credit for making the changes you did, following through, being systematized. It's really something. I'm not a coach. I just lecture. I enjoy it.
Yeah.
But it's the person who takes what I say and said, like another person I interviewed said it resonated with them.
Mhm.
And you were able to follow through on it. And I get nervous when people do it because it doesn't mean it's going to work. And you did
Yeah.
that. And I give you tremendous credit.
Right. Right.
So
Yeah.
tell me a little
Absolutely.
bit, would you mind telling me a little bit about who, this is something you did with your husband, Bob. It's related to myopia management. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, Hoot is a digital education and marketing automation for myopia management for our parents and patients. Because like most ODs out there, I'm not completely insurance free and I have the primary care in my practice. And I didn't want to miss it's hard to give all the information. After COVID, what happened to the parents? They were all ordering groceries online. They were online on their phone for everything, researching everything, including us. We found out where to get those screens for our offices and
Yep, 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 yep.
barriers.
Everything was
We were
online. Yep.
online consuming information. So information consumption went up so much during COVID. And I saw that right in the beginning, and I said, okay, you know what, we got to do something. We got to make this. And it was my husband's idea, more so than mine. And we put a lot of content, what I say in the exam room, what myopia is, why glasses are not the answer, what the science behind ortho-K, atropine, soft lenses, everything, because we need to give that to the parents in surround sound. I give that in an automated drip fashion. So it's not so much information at day one, but it is temporally spaced so they can understand that, and the information can be categorized in their brain and stacked in their brain so they're more likely to act and sign up. Because myopia management is a very weird disease. Myopia is a very weird disease. It's not outwardly, it's something inside that the parent can't see their child having that disease. It's a very hard thing to convey to the parent that they must act now and they must not wait. And I needed to answer that question. So in my COVID shutdown, amongst other things, I shot a lot of videos in my basement. I painted my wall green. Green. I created a green room, camera, lighting, and I shot a lot of videos, and we put that in a beautiful platform that we now deliver. And a lot of, we have 50 doctors around the country that subscribe to our platform, and
That's
it's
great.
really helped them grow because they're in the middle of taking all the insurances and dropping everything. But in the meantime, what do they need to do? They need to actually to categorize their information, to deliver it in the proper way to the parents
That's right.
that is consumable. Because now parents go home and they consume, they 30 years ago, doctors were God. Whatever you told them, they would follow
That's so true. That's so
now
true.
it's not so. They want to,
No,
what do they want to do? They want to
right.
cross-check it with Google.
That's right. That's
So I
exactly
wanted
right.
my information to be on Google.
Right.
I wanted my information to be coming on it from a screen.
Right.
And that is what was the magic with Hoot. So we built Hoot. And so we're doing that. And I'm using that with all your teachings, but I'm using that to make my life easier in the office. So I don't
That's
have
awesome.
to keep saying the same thing ad nauseum.
And if the listeners want to find out more about Hoot, how do they find out more about it? I want to give you a plug for that.
They can go to hootmyopiacare.com and
Okay.
get a demo.
I want to tell you a great story, which it proves you're right. I do a lot of crazy things because I enjoy it. So I don't know if I shared with the group. I did a movie night, and I used to do this a lot pre-COVID. And this was the first live movie night. We rented a screen. We did an outdoor event, safe with COVID. It was just so much work getting the screen, getting everything up and running. I emailed 8,000 of my patients.
Yeah.
How many people do you think came to that movie night?
I remember because I watched the video, I think 25.
Yes. That's it's 50, okay? It was
Okay,
50, it
50.
wasn't
Okay.
25. So I'm emailing 8,000 people. There's so
Okay.
much work, so much
Yeah.
distraction. So I turned lemon into lemonade.
Yeah.
I said, okay, I call up, I was a documentary called Screen Ages, the Next Chapter. I called them up and said,
Uh-huh.
listen, I paid for this documentary. I got 50 people here. Can I
Yeah.
stream it?
Yeah.
Because it's a different free to stream it. Now we got hundreds viewing it, just like you said, from the
Yeah.
comfort of their home. It's kind
Yes.
of like you can only fight City Hall so much.
Yeah.
So once I change it to streaming, they
Yeah.
say, okay, he's right. I should watch this documentary, but I didn't want to go anywhere. I don't think it was COVID that scared them. It's
Yeah.
inertia. I don't go
Yeah.
out for shopping. I don't go out if I don't have to, but I'll stream it in my home. And
Yeah.
that's really validates what your theory was.
Yeah. Well, you talk to them about, oh, I am diagnosing little Johnny with myopia. And just by like saying myopia, I've lost them in the exam room. So, now I have like, not to go too much into it, but the QR codes that you see behind me, I just have them just like, here, you know what, here's a QR code. I'm going to tell you a little bit about myopia, but you go home and learn more about it. And it's a very systematic, consumer friendly way. They can
Yeah.
understand what myopia is.
And I used to do that in the olden days by drip marketing, it's called. It's kind of like feeding them, like you said, very incrementally, because
Yeah.
they may not be ready today, but the myopia is not getting better. That's for
Yeah.
sure. It's not going
Yeah.
away. It's not going to get better.
Right.
And sometimes they just incremental bits of information until
Yeah.
they say, you know what, I am ready. And that's
Yes.
different for many patients. But
Right.
that's a lot more than the practitioner that offers it and doesn't say anything for a year or so to
Yeah.
when they come
And
back.
it's so sad because the future of these kids is in their parents' hands. And you can be lucky and they can the parent can be educated or understand what myopia is, and they can act on it, but it's very frustrating when that parent doesn't act on it, and you're like, why aren't they understanding
Well,
what it is? And the future of another human being is in another human being's hands, and that is what made us bring Hoot forward. Like,
yeah.
okay, we've got to somehow convince and be influencing them in a different manner.
Yeah, and I think it's every parent's different. I don't look at it the same way. I say everybody has different priorities in their life and different
Yeah.
times. But the one thing you've given them is your attention
Yeah.
to recommend it. When I was doing primary care, I had hardly time to breathe. And
Yeah.
even when someone had high pressures, I need to really force myself to make the time to assure that patient followed up on my recommendation, which is not
Right.
easy to do because
Right.
they see fine, there's no discomfort.
Yeah.
So myopia, you could imagine we all could be doing a better job, but
Yeah.
we need to make the time
Right.
to explain to it. Because I know you're not just saying, here's a QR code, you're
No,
priming the pump, so to speak. You're laying it and say, listen, I know this is something that you may not heard of before, but this is a start.
yeah, no, and
And
we hired a lot of a team all around the world that, we have a researcher, clinical researcher, we have, clinical briefs on what atropine is. A lot of the times doctors have like nothing to show them, even when they're doing consultation, like
yes,
where's your beautifully, where is the content that they can understand? Parents are so spoiled now, and they want so much more. You need to have it in a nice, concise way to show them what an eye looks like and what a myopic eye looks like versus a normal eye versus, all of that stuff is digitally printed on a screen, and they
mhm.
understand it so much. And then when I say it's this many thousands of dollars, because I remember I learned that from you. Like, I remember you're like, how much are you charging for myopia management? I'm like, this much. And you're like, you'll get there, Shefali, you'll get there. This is nothing. You're charging peanuts. And I said, I can't do that. And I said, all of these things helped me, write a big number, because I know what I have to do to manage that family is I get
Right.
surprised sometimes when when they pay that.
Yeah. Well, it's parallel to the care you give.
Yeah.
If you're just fitting the lens, that's one thing. But when you care as much as you were calling your patients, you were telling me how much of yourself on the weekends that you value so much, you were giving of yourself. If you
Yeah.
didn't adjust your fees, you would start self-sabotaging. It's kind
Yes.
of, if you're giving the care, then you should charge the appropriate fees. You can't
Yes.
charge the appropriate fees if you're not providing the care. The two are hand in hand.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I can't do that after like having a glaucoma morning.
No,
I can't do that after
no.
I've seen a patient argue about an IMED, I don't know, whatever. I just can't, I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just, it's hard.
Yeah, we need to get reimbursed for the care we provide, and having insurance is a governor there. There's a limit. You just can't.
Yes.
And I think that's why some doctors may get a little bitter or exhausted and want to sell.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
Shefali, thank you. I
Well,
definitely know
thank you. But, I want to say that you didn't, mention that I actually signed up for your course again.
you did,
The-
and thank you. And I'll tell
no,
you, I was
it's
so
not. No,
touched.
thank you because
And then you emailed me, says, Nick, can I fly in the morning of? Because you're killing that whole week, and and I said, no. You
yeah,
got to stay the night before. You need to have energy. It's an all-day course. So
yeah.
thank you. And I promise you, I
No,
guarantee you, you
I
will
am
reap
so
the.
looking forward to it because it's, I've taken that course multiple times, but it's never the same course. And I don't know how you continue to reinvent that course and the information that you bring on to everybody, that it's just so much massive value. And I remember, I mean, I was at a Atlanta conference just this past that weekend, and people were asking me because they know that I'm friendly with you. And you're my coach in myopia management. And they said, well, why are you taking that course again? You're already successful. I said, because it's not about being successful. It's about learning the new things that I probably haven't even thought about, that Dr. D and his team has already figured it out. And please, it's an all-day thing. And I'm so looking forward to it because I think, again, going deep and being immersive in an experience
Right.
can really changes your psychology.
Yes.
So, and I'm not saying I'm not free of those stuck up, mentality. I get stuck in so many things, even right now, where I say,
Sure.
should I do this or should I do that, or what, and going to that course, it pays for itself in literally that same the Monday I come back, it pays for itself.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you could charge like $10,000. I would pay Dr. D.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. My son asked me the same point. He says, my son is a physician. He goes, you're doing supercharge again. What do you say the same thing? I said, no, I teach what I've evolved. Our practices have to evolve. If
Yes.
they don't evolve, they really decline.
Yeah.
So
Well, our
I'm looking
patients are
forward to this
involved in.
year. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
the
Yeah.
world has evolved. The parents
Yep.
are involved.
That's right.
Their needs are different
Yeah.
every year, and you have to have the pulse. You have to read the pulse right away.
Oh, and post pandemic, if you haven't evolved,
Yeah,
I would think you're in trouble.
yeah,
Because things are not going back to whatever they were before. And if you're hoping to wait, I think it's going to be a very long wait.
yeah.
So
No, I sincerely hope that people who are listening would come to your course because it is invaluable, and not just what we get through your course, but actually the people that we get surrounded by are so like-minded. And if you want to elevate yourself and your profession, you have to surround yourself with like-minded people that think on a higher level. And that is why I go to these courses and meetings, because it's not about like, I want to, I don't know, learn some, it's about the company you keep, and
Yeah.
it's the mindset. And it's just, I come back with a different mindset every time I go. It's just that simple.
I think you could be in for a treat. I'm really hoping to close out registration early because the majority of attendees this year who have signed up are alumni. And it's so humbling for me to hear that. But that is going to make a very powerful group amongst ourselves, because we all have a different level of experience, but we've been there, done it. We know what works, what doesn't. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
So
the only thing I ask is an aisle seat, Dr. D.
you got it. You have it. You were one of the
In the
first to
center.
enroll.
In the
Lisa
center.
Lisa, my office manager, says, Dr. Miglani, she signed up again, doctor. I said, that's great. So it's great. You'll
I
have
want
a
an
front
aisle
row
seat.
seat. I promise you. Okay.
That's great. I'm so looking forward to it.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. I'll see you very soon. And to everyone out there, you've listened to the Dare to Be Different podcast. My name is Nick Despotidis. I very much appreciate you listening. Until next time, good night.
Good night.